Good evening, good evening, good evening. My name is Deborah Kennedy, and I will be your moderator for this evening. I'm going to go ahead and get us started with a prayer. So if you would join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come boldly into your presence, knowing that you are God and above you there is no other. We come, O Lord, thanking you for this another blessed day. We thank you, O Lord, for the desires that have been placed on our heart, that in all our getting we get understanding. So we come together to start this financial literacy month with understanding on how to preserve and grow our wealth. So we thank you for being with us. We thank you for everyone in attendance, everyone on the way, every presenter. And we just thank you, O Lord, for your presence being with us, ensuring that this seminar shall be great. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen. All right. Well, again, good evening, everyone. I am Deborah Kennedy, your moderator for the evening. And as a public service organization, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority provides an extensive array of public service initiatives through our 5-point programmatic thrusts, which include economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement, better known as social action. It is this initiative under economic development, the financial fortitude banner, that we come together today. Our goal is to spread financial education throughout the local communities. So today, the Economic Development Committee of East Point College Park Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority is pleased to bring you our Preserving and Protecting Your Wealth Through Real Estate seminar. In a minute, I will introduce to you our speakers for this evening. But before I do that, I wanted to explain how our session will proceed. During today's session, the only people that you will see and hear are the presenters and myself. You will be able to ask questions, and we highly encourage you to do so. However, we want you to use the QA button, which is located at the bottom or top of your screen, depending on your device. To ensure we stay on time, we will answer all questions at the end of the session. However, you don't have to wait until the end to type your questions in. In fact, we encourage you to type your questions in the Q&A as they come to you. Additionally, any comments that you have, just as everyone is saying good evening, we want you to put it in the chat box. So let's go ahead for those who haven't started. Let's put something in the chat box. We'd like for you to locate your chat box and enter your city and state in. That way we can see where in the country our attendees are from. So just quickly in the chat, I see Jonesboro. Good evening, Jonesboro, East Point, Atlanta, College Park. Good evening, Riverdale. All right, Atlanta, we know you're here. Rex, Fairburn, Fayetteville. Okay, great. We've got people from all over Georgia, and we're excited for you being here tonight to get this wonderful information. So lastly, at the end of the session, we will have a survey we'd like for you to complete, as we want to ensure that we get all your feedback about today's session. A link will be placed in the chat for you to access the survey, as well as the survey will pop up on your screen at the conclusion of the session. Please, please do stick around and give us your feedback. We want to make sure that we're meeting your financial need. Now, for your official welcome, I'm pleased to introduce the president of the East Point College Park Alumni Chapter, Sora Cassandra Hines. Sora Hines?
Good evening. I am Cassandra Hayward Hines, president of the East Point College Park Alumni Chapter, and it is with great pleasure that I welcome you. In Delta Sigma Theta, the month of April is designated as our Financial Literacy Month, or as we say in Delta, Financial Fortitude Month. During this time, financial institutions, nonprofits, and human service organizations increase their focus on the importance of financial literacy by hosting events, programs, and counseling, just as what we're doing tonight. We're pleased to host this seminar with a focus on understanding real estate market conditions and changes. We are very, very excited to have our special guest, My soror, Tina Jones, and Mr. Doug Hudnall. They will share with you their expertise and their knowledge and answer questions that you have regarding the real estate market, which ultimately is to simply empower you in protecting and preserving your wealth. So please do not be shy. As mentioned, ask questions using the Q&A box. And at the end of this seminar, you will receive a very brief survey asking for your feedback. Please take a moment to complete this survey. Your feedback is extremely important to us. It's how we continue to continuously improve on what we do and what we offer to our community. A special thank you to our award-winning Economic Development Committee for planning and coordinating this seminar. And as always, welcome to our community guests, and thank you for taking time out of your evening to join us to receive this very important and valuable information. Once more, on behalf of the East Point College Park Alumni Chapter, welcome to all. So without further ado, let's get it started. And Sora Kennedy, back to you.
Thank you so much, Sora Hines. Okay, before our speakers come before you, I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. So, Sora Tina Jones has over 17 years of real estate and business experience. Tina has served on the board of the DeKalb Association of Realtors, chaired real estate committees, worked with the REO Assessment Management, hedge funds, investors, builders, international clientele, and various commercial clients. She prides herself on the knowledge and the will to succeed. Tina graduated from summa cum laude. Hard for me because I graduated, thank you, Lottie, summa cum laude, and from the prestigious Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina. While there, she was crowned Miss Benedict College and featured in Ebony magazine. Tina holds active membership in Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, DeKalb Association of Realtors, Tennessee Association of Realtors, ABR, CIAS, and she volunteers on a regular basis with Habitat for Humanity, Battered Women's Shelter, Elderly Homes, and spreads countless hours mentoring adolescents and working with various charities. After her long hours of conducting business, Tina, of course, enjoys spending time with her husband and her two precious sons. Also with us tonight is Doug Hudnall. Doug has 22 years as a mortgage banker veteran. He enjoys assisting people realizing their dream of home ownership and providing financial literacy. He's on the board of the Veterans Empowerment Organization, whose mission is to help homeless veterans to become self-sufficient. And he is an avid Alabama college football fan and a roller coaster enthusiast. Thank you so much for being here today, Tina and Doug. I turn it over to you now to provide all of this good information for us.
Thank you so much, Deborah. I really appreciate that. It's hard to follow Tina's accolades, so I'll have to remember that next time. So, first of all, let me just say good evening to everyone. I want to just reinforce what your president, Hines, said. Thanks for taking time to join this session because this is really important. And I think it's valuable to have these types of sessions to learn more about financial literacy. So what we're going to talk about tonight is obviously home ownership. And this is going to affect anyone on this call, whether you're a first-time home buyer or a seasoned veteran. There will be some information that's going to help in your quest to purchase a home, or maybe it's a second home. You know, we hope you get a lot out of this today. We're going to keep it very quick. And as I always say, knowledge is power. Wow, man, that looks great right there. So with that being said, I'm going to get started. I'm going to share my screen here with you. So let's just see if we can get this all moving right quick. And I'm hoping everyone can see that. So as you can see, the title, Understanding the Real Estate Market and Conditions and Changes. As you know, it's been a really up and down mortgage industry over the last 2 to 3 years. And so it continues to be a roller coaster. As I said in my opening, I am a roller coaster enthusiast. So we're kind of at the bottom of the roller coaster right now. There will be some times when we'll be at the top. So what we're going to talk about tonight is just a little bit more information regarding that. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll grab those. The first thing we want to talk is positioning yourself for home buying. Obviously, that's the first thing you want to do is what do I need to do to do home buying? Well, in this next slide, as you can see, there's several bullet points here. Saving for a down payment is mainly the first thing you want to do. As you know, there are some programs where you can purchase a home with little money down, but you are going to need money for down payment and other costs associated with that. Credit scores. That's a big thing that we tend to forget about. So you want to look at your credit reports. If you don't look at that, make sure, I'm sure everyone with their credit cards, you get alerts, you get Experian has information where you can go and check your credit. You want to look and see where those are, because if there's things to be addressed, you want to be able to address those. And we'll talk a little bit more about what kind of scores typically are looked for when it comes to the mortgage banking. The next thing you really want to do is get pre-approved before you start looking for a home. Most of you, if you're on this call that have already been through buying a home, you know the first thing you want to do is make sure you know what your buying power is. So before you start looking in the market. And obviously the next piece of that is choosing an agent, someone like Tina, who's going to help and represent you in finding that dream home you're looking for. You know, looking for what property, choosing the property, where you want the property, whether it be Riverdale, Atlanta, College Park, Gwinnett County. Everybody has their options of where they want. And then, of course, the rest of these you can read, submitting offer, obviously going through the acceptance, and then moving into the new home. So I'm going to kind of jump to this slide. We talked about this already, saving for down payment. But there's a couple of little bullets here I wanted to just kind of highlight. Down payment, closing costs, obviously reserves. If you're going to be buying furniture for the new home, so just saving for the down payment is not really all that you need to save for, because there are other parts of that, closing costs being the biggest, because in today's market, sellers may pay some of your closing costs, they may not pay your closing costs. So whatever your down payment is, you have that plus whatever those closing costs are going to be. And ways you can do that, regularly save. One of the things I share with a lot of my first-time home buyers is open up a separate checking savings account and call it your house fund. So whatever you want to do is send that funds into that account. That way it's not intermingled with your other account and you end up spending it. You know, so this is one of the pieces I really want to spend a good bit of time on. And when I say a good bit of time, just a few minutes, credit scores are very important in today's market. Your FICO score ranges anywhere from 300 to 850. 850 is kind of like the high, but I can tell you that many lenders, including Renaissance, we're going to be looking for credit scores with a minimum of at least 620 when you're talking about a conventional loan. In the government area, FHA, VA, those are government loans, USDA, you can look at a minimum score of 600. And one thing I wanted to point is we do have a community home buyer 100% program for first-time home buyers with a minimum score of 660. The good news about that program allows you to purchase a home without any down payment. So the only funds you're going to be responsible for would be your closing costs. But check those scores, look at it closely. If you need to improve on something, you may have someone you work with already. Find out, what do I need to fix that? What do I need to improve my score? And that's going to help you when it comes to the opportunity of looking for a home. Here's a few tips. Make your payments on time. The biggest thing that I will tell you is bullet number 2, pay down your balances, especially on your credit cards. You know, typically if you can keep your credit balance about 30% of your credit limit, that will help improve your score. Once you get over 50%, that tends to impact your score and drive it down. Keep older accounts open. Length of credit is a good way to raise your score. Limit, obviously, credit applications. But in this case, you see the second bullet point, check your credit report at least 60 days before you apply. And if there's any errors on there, you want to address those. There are some non-traditional credit options out there. As you probably have seen some of these commercials, Experian, you can add your rent now, you can add your utilities, things like that, where you can add to your credit report. And I think they call it Boost. If you've seen some of those commercials, it'll help boost your score, but that's a great way to drive your credit score up. And getting a mortgage loan, there's two options. You have your pre-approval and you have pre-qualification. A pre-approval is a firm commitment. That means we've looked at everything. We've looked at your credit, we've looked at your income, we've actually taken you through an underwriting process. So that gives you a better option when you're discussing that with a potential seller versus a pre-qualification, where typically a pre-qualification is an application and they ran your credit and we're just basically stating based on your credit you could qualify for a loan. So I always recommend getting a pre-approval versus a pre-qualification. However, both can help you in obtaining or putting an offer in on a property, but a pre-approval in today's market will make you a much advantage to the seller because you've already been through the process. Now, these next few slides are just types of mortgages that we offer. Fixed rate, those are your conventional 30-year fixed. We've all heard of those. 15-year, that means your rate's never going to go up. There's ARM products available. ARM products are great, but they adjust over a period of time. You may have a 5-year, 7-year, 10-year. Those are your common ARM products. What the 5, 7, and 10 means is they're fixed for 5 years, 7 and 10, and then they may adjust. And you can see some of the different programs we have. Conventional, minimum 5% down. You can look at FHA, minimum 3.5% down. And also, as I mentioned to you earlier, there's some 100% programs, VA, USDA. VA if you're a veteran, obviously. USDA if you're in a rural area. And then Renaissance offers a 100% financing for first-time home buyers called the Community Home Buyer. So those are some different programs. These are types of properties, mortgages for investment properties. Some of you may be investors here. They may want to buy a home, obviously, and rent it out. There are programs for that. Typically under the conventional umbrella, you cannot use investment on an FHA. However, if you purchase a duplex and you're going to occupy one as your primary residence and rent the other side out, that is acceptable under FHA. And you can look at the minimum down payment, 15% on a conventional. Obviously, if it's a 2 to 4 unit, 25%. We have doctor loans. So if you're a medical physician, and you can see MD, dentist, you can see the different categories, but we have 100% financing, someone that may want to take advantage of that. There's also construction to perm. Maybe you own some land, maybe mom and dad gave you some property, you want to build your dream home, you don't want to live in that neighborhood any longer. We have programs for that also. Private wealth clients, we have options offering financing, as you can see, financing of 100% up to $1 million, or 5% down up to 1.5 million. So if you fit that category, there's opportunities for you there. So as you can see, we have a bevy of products. There's something for everyone that's on this call. So I want to talk about the closing costs really quick. These are some of the things we talked about earlier about the down payment. As you can see, these are some of your closing costs that are included. These will always be shared with you and always provided to you in a good faith estimate whenever you're talking with a lender. So make sure you always get a copy of that. And these are the payment components. You have your principal and interest. That's basically the major part of your payment. And then you have the escrow piece, the property taxes, homeowners insurance, private mortgage insurance, obviously, if you're putting less than 20% down. If you're doing FHA, you're always going to have mortgage insurance. That's just part of the FHA product. So your payment is including all of these. And one of the things that you have to really keep in mind are the property taxes, because those sometimes can be different from county to county and based on the sales price. But that just gives you a breakout. Now, with that being said, I'm going to tell you and turn this over to Tina Jones, but this is why you should use a real estate agent. And Tina's going to fill you guys in on that and why you should have someone to to support you when you're out looking for a market. Tina, if you're ready, I'm going to pass it over to you, and I'll drive the bus here for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to East Point College Park Alumni Chapter for allowing us the opportunity to present today. Like Deb was saying, finding a real estate agent is essential. You want to ask for referrals from your family and friends. Come to different events like this and just listen to realtors speak. Find agents that are familiar with the areas you're interested in. Do some comparison shopping. I like to say stalk your realtor. Go to their social media pages, ask, questions and just see how they respond to you. Make sure you're a good fit. Avoid using the seller's agent. And when I say this, I mean the seller's listing agent, and or in these beautiful new construction communities, when you walk in there and you go into that model home, there's an agent sitting on site. That agent represents the builder, and neither of these agents will represent your best interest. So you want to have someone that's representing your best interest, and looking out for you. So avoid using the seller's agent or representative at all costs. Why should I hire a realtor to represent me? You do not know how many times I hear someone saying, well, I can just represent myself. Oh, I can do this myself. They think it's a cakewalk, and it's not. So I'm going to give you a few reasons as to why you should hire a realtor to represent you. First, market knowledge. Realtors have access to comprehensive market and trends, allowing us the opportunity to provide some valuable information to you about the neighborhoods, about the homes, the history of the homes, how many times they've sold, how many times it's been listed, valuations, dynamics, and other market conditions. So we're trained to notice different aspects of properties. So we do have, great market knowledge. Negotiating skills. That's something that you want to interview your realtor and understand their negotiation skills. Right now, it is just essential to have, again, your own representation that's going to be able to negotiate in your best interest. You want your realtor to be able to negotiate some closing costs, incentives, a decent due diligence period, so that you may be able to go through the property and make sure it's the one that you want. Be able to negotiate on your behalf with your lenders. Because oftentimes Doug and I, we have to go back and forth about different things, but you want that realtor to be looking out for your best interest. Network. As a realtor, we have a very large amount of other realtors that we work with, and builders. So you want to use a realtor that's able to network with lenders, inspectors, contractors, or whomever is going to be involved in that process. You want somebody that's likable and well-known in the industry. Access to resources. We do have access to something called the MLS. That's your Georgia MLS, Multiple Listing Service, First MLS, which is your FMLS, and some other portals that we have access to via paid memberships like LoopNet, CoStar, and things of that nature. So your realtor will have access to resources other than Zillow. And I know a lot of you just, you have that Zillow app on your phone and you hold it close to your heart. But you definitely want a realtor that's going to have access to other resources, because Zillow is not always going to tell you 100% of what's going on with that property from behind the scenes. So you want to have someone with access to different resources. We mitigate risk, and risks are very serious. They can hurt very badly and scar you for life. I'm trying to scare you, but I'm serious. So we mitigate risk. We make sure that your interest, again, is the first priority. Helping you through the due diligence period, inspections, understanding those reports. Doug mentioned the investors earlier. I had a couple of investors cry on my shoulder just last week. They purchased 10 homes in a new construction neighborhood, and they purchased them unrepresented. because, they are investors and they, just, felt like they could do it on their own. But it didn't register to them to check with the HOA and make sure that the HOA allowed rentals. So for investors, second home owners, for vacation properties, you want someone that's going to say, hey, let's make sure all of our boxes are checked. You don't want to purchase a property with expectations of being able to rent it, and you're unable to do that. Or, if you're an investor and you're purchasing a property to flip it, you want a realtor that understands the timeline in which you can flip it and get the most bang for your buck, and be able to utilize different buyers' loans, because that's something else that comes up. But oftentimes with investors, they purchase properties, they flip them very quickly, and they are disappointed when they cannot accept an FHA buyer for a certain amount of time. So you want, to hire a realtor that can help you with those risks. Guidance through the process. We hold your hand, and I literally hold your hand through the process, during the process, after the process, years after the process. I'm never going to stop holding your hand. And you want a realtor that's going to be there to guide you through the process. Make sure that you understand your homestead exemption. Make sure that you understand, hey, change your filters. Or, hey, check with your lender and see if you can get, a refi, lower interest rate, things of that nature. So you want someone that's going to be in it to truly be a partner with you and guide you through that process. Professionalism, very, very, very important. We are experiencing some unprofessional agents. And sellers agents that's work with unprofessional agents, well, they don't want to work with them. So they make it hard on their clients. When you have a professional realtor that has, a large network of individuals that they work with, the potential of you winning that highest and best bid is high. Because regardless of what people say, realtors want to work with another realtor that's going to be able to help navigate the process, create a happy medium for all parties. After sale support, again, you want a realtor to remind you of homestead exemption, to educate you on what a homestead exemption is if you don't know. You want a realtor to advise you on that second home purchase, on that vacation home purchase. You want someone that's going to go above and beyond and actually educate you on the process after your closing and before. Now, this is a hot item, and I know a lot of you that follow Zillow and look at social media and the news are like, what is this NAR lawsuit about? Oh my gosh, everybody's saying the realtors are going out of business, everybody's obsolete, and I'm here to tell you, no, that is not the case. And it's simple, very simple. It's something that has been in place for years. I mean, this is not new. It's only public more so than it has been in the past. And as we all know, the media and the news can definitely compromise decision-making. So you want to be sure to understand that, yes, in some cases you do have to pay your realtor, but in most cases you'll be able to negotiate the commission as part of the closing costs, or the seller may be offering the buyer's agent commission. However, again, please know that this is generally how it works. Listing agreements. When a seller hires a real estate agent to list their property, they sign something called a listing agreement. Now, within that listing agreement, it specifies how much the seller is willing to pay for commission. Their listing agent is supposed to educate the seller and say, okay, seller, you have to pay my commission. However, I like to ask for more so that way I can share commission with a buyer's agent. Now, this is extremely common. However, in some cases, it may not happen. So, the listing agreement is initiated from the seller and the seller's representative. If the listing agent negotiates a commission where they can share with the buyer's broker, then that's where your cooperating broker comes into place. Your cooperating broker is the broker, and I'm saying broker, but that's a real estate agent and realtor that represents the buyer. If the listing agent has listed in the MLS that they will pay 3% commission, then your buyer's agent by law has to disclose to you how much the seller is willing to pay. Now, again, I'm gonna go back to Zillow because I know a lot of you look at Zillow, and that's okay. But if you look at Zillow on the very bottom of those listings, it tells you what the buyer's agency is. It has a number with a percent sign, and it'll tell you how much the seller or the listing agent has advertised to pay the buyer's agent. Now, I know a lot of you may say, well, I hear this, but when would I have to pay the buyer's agent? Now, if, for instance, you go after a for sale by owner property, most of the for sale by owner sellers, they will not pay a commission. Now, I have worked several for sale by owner contracts for my buyers, and because I am a negotiator, I was able to negotiate with the seller for them to pay not only closing costs, but to include the commission. So the buyer did not have to pay that. So in the same breath, if you have your realtor, your agent, and you're working with a for sale by owner, or another seller that's not willing to pay the amount that your buyer's agent has contracted you for, then, in that case, you may have to pay a portion of commission. Again, I never recommend representing yourself. I always say that most times when people attempt it, they walk away wounded. They walk away, with sour feelings about real estate. They're not happy. And they come crying saying, you know what, I spent more money, with this transaction than I, anticipated. Or, they walk into their home and everything is gone. They're like, wait, I thought that $20,000 appliance package was going to stay in the kitchen. Well, no, you didn't have a disclosure from the seller saying that they were going to leave that $20,000 appliance package. So now all you have is empty space, and you have to go and buy those $20,000 worth of appliances or less, depending on the type of appliances that you want. So again, to avoid a lot of unnecessary heartburn, please, by all means, hire a representative to represent your interests. And be sure to ask your realtor questions. No question is a dumb question. And you want to have a relationship with your realtor of trust. You want to feel like you can call and you can discuss, any concerns with your realtor, as it relates to commission. Don't bite your tongue. Don't hold your questions. Be upfront. Say, hey, how do you get paid? Okay, how do you get paid? And you want to ask that question so that you can make sure everybody has a clear understanding. So that way there's no unnecessary heartburn and no surprises once it gets to closing.
Tina, if I can add on to that, and for everybody on this call, and I'm going to kind of reiterate the healthy realtor, you want to do the same thing with your lender. Have a great relationship with your lender, whomever you may. Make sure you have the trust, make sure it's someone knowledgeable. Tina and I have been working together for a long time, and one thing that I really try to pose to everyone, I'm here to earn your business, okay, and not demand you give me your business. So this call, this Zoom that we're doing tonight, it's all about information. So find yourself a lender, get a relationship with, because it's all about trusting that they have your best interest in mind. And that's one thing that I pride myself on, because Tina will tell you in this business, it's all about your reputation. And obviously, I use a tagline. It might sound a little bit, I'm your mortgage banker for life. So I had a client call me, and I just wanted to share this. I haven't talked to this client in 8 years, but I did her first house. She still had my number in her phone, and she called me. So that's what makes me enjoy my job, because she could go and win anywhere, but the experience she had and the trust, she said, you were going to be the first one I call. So I encourage you to find you a lender, someone, just as Tina talked about on the realtor side. All right, so we're going to flip on over and keep moving through this.
Sure.
Consider what is affordable. Tina, I'm just going to chat a moment. I'm going to let you pick it up. But if you look at the first bullet point, it's hard to enjoy the house if you cannot pay the mortgage. Now, I know that sounds a little like, what? What do you mean by that? So I always look at what is the budget, but make sure it's affordable and fit your budget and what you're looking for. Just like Tina mentioned about the appliance package, you want to make sure the house has all the things that you want, as far as bedroom counts and things. But the mortgage payment is going to be the key factor. So, make yourself a budget. Hey, this is what I want to afford, based on my everyday expenses, my monthly expenses. So to make sure that when you're talking to your realtor like Tina or your lender like myself, that we're talking about that. And that's one of the first questions I ask is, what's your budget? Now, some people have a monthly budget, some people have a price budget or down payment budget, but you want to figure out what is that budget so we can make sure we find the home that's going to fit your affordability as well as give you all of the things that you're looking for. All right, Tina, sliding it back over to you.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much, Doug. And yes, know your budget, and don't allow anyone to push you over that budget. And I often tell my clients as well to look at your needs and your wants. Investors, look at how much you're going to have to put into a property to make it livable again. Know your budget. The only person that knows how much you can comfortably afford is yourself. So don't let anyone come in and say, oh, well, you know what, this looks a little bit better. You can do it. You can do it. Don't get pushed, off of a bridge. Make sure that you can understand and pay your mortgage comfortably. Again, here it says, look, sorry, go ahead. And then deciding on what features you want in a home. Know how many bedrooms you need. Know how many bedrooms you want. Bathrooms, condition, size, the type of home that you want, the layout, outdoor space, location. And I always tell my buyers, I understand you're buying the property for yourself. However, buy something that someone else will want one day, because essentially you are building wealth. You're building a investment. So make sure that when you're looking at something, you are opening your mind and really concentrating on your purchase. The types of homes, you have several types of homes. You have your single family homes, duplexes, multi-unit buildings. I know a lot of the investors are after your multifamily homes, your duplexes and your quadruplexes, but a savvy buyer may be interested in a duplex as well, because Doug will let you know, that you can purchase a duplex as a first-time home buyer. And you can live in unit A and rent unit B. And guess what? Unit B may pay the entire mortgage. So you live for free. You have to use, your resources, use your realtors, your lenders to discuss different things like this to you. Make some notes, say, hey, I want to build wealth. I want to be a savvy buyer. So sometimes you just got to think outside the box. Let's see, home searches, the real estate agent.
Sorry about that, Tina.
No problem at all. Condos, townhomes on that list, condos and townhomes, and most homes in planned development communities, they come with an HOA. An HOA is called a homeowners association. You want to understand an HOA. HOAs can foreclose on your homes. You want to be able to pay that HOA. If you're investing, you want to be able to, rent that property. You want to know if you have to keep your grass cut every 2 weeks. So you can put that in your budget, but you want to understand that. Home searches, real estate agents can look up your properties on MLS, FMLS, other search engines, taking pictures and fill out your checklist. Remember what features you want on homes. I like to have a Zoom with my clients and discuss your needs, your wants, what you like, and I try to get as close to that as possible. So you want to, again, research your realtor, your lender, and understand that. Avoid being distracted from things that are easy to change. Don't go in a house and say, oh no, there's orange paint on the wall. I love this house, but this orange paint, I just can't get over. Yes, you can. You can get over it because you can replace it. So don't get distracted by small things. Don't get distracted by things that you can change. Visit a home more than once before making an offer. I always tell my clients to drive a community at night. Drive by it. Go on the weekends. Go during, business hours if you can. Go to your police department. You can ask them to pull that address and tell you, hey, has there ever been any type of, trauma to this home? Any situations to a
Yeah.
property, they will give it to you free of charge. So you want to do that and research your homeowner association. You can sometimes Google and just see if people are having issues. Components of an offer. An offer is where you want an agent or a realtor that can negotiate on your behalf. So in the offer, you have your purchase price, which is what you're going to offer to purchase the home, your closing date, how long the offer is good for, concessions, which is closing costs, commissions, HOA dues, inclusive of what the seller wants to leave, the seller's disclosure. Again, it's going to tell you if those appliances are going to stay in the home or if they're planning on taking them. So that way you can budget accordingly. Contingencies, your home inspection, finance contingency, appraisal contingency, that's very important. And you want your realtor to be working with your lender so that everybody's on the same page, that the appraisal is being ordered on time, that your financing is moving along properly. So you want realtors that have relationships with lenders for over 12 years, like I do with Doug. So that way we know when one zigs, one zags. We keep each other in the loop, and you want somebody that's going to communicate with you because, again, this is your property. This is your money.
Right.
So anybody that's quiet and will not communicate with you on your contingencies or helping you understand it, well, you don't want that type of person.
And if I can add on to that, Tina, for everyone on this call, Tina made a very good point. When you look at those contingencies, those 3 bullets, home inspection, financing, and appraisal, very important that if you have a realtor representing that you set proper expectation on the deadlines. I've seen a lot of realtors will go in and offer short terms timelines because they want to be the one to get the offer. Well, if you don't meet those timelines, you could lose your earnest money in some cases. You could run into situations where your appraisal contingency is expired. Now the appraisal comes back and it's something's wrong. The seller may not negotiate. So it's very important that you keep those in mind. And Tina and I have worked together where she'll say, hey, Doug, what kind of financing contingency should I have? And I'll say, okay, yeah, that date's okay. But if it's a little shorter, hey, we need to move that out for certain things because we are trying to protect you and protect your earnest money and you as far as purchasing this home, because at the end of the day, this is a large investment and it's an opportunity, and we want to make sure that you're happy and comfortable with it.
Okay.
Okay.
And just moving along, making an offer with real estate agent, customary earnest money. Earnest money is what you have to put down to hold it. Typically, it's between 1% to 3%. Seller will either accept, reject, or counter. And once your offer is accepted, you are now binding.
Yeah.
Pre-closing period, you want to have your home inspection done, notify and periodically check with your lender, but hopefully your lender is also keeping you in the loop. Get your home insurance. Your realtor will educate you on that as well. Avoid taking additional debt. Do not buy anything. Don't charge anything. Don't look at anything that costs money. Be extremely frugal. If 2 or more owners decide to hold title, you have to know how you want to hold title. I always encourage you to speak with the closing attorney, which is who will be able to advise you on that. And doing your final walkthrough of a property. Don't let an agent tell you, oh, you're buying a new home. We don't have to go through the property. No, you want to see that property before you buy it, before you close. Closing, the day your mortgage is finalized and the title of the home is transferred to you. That's the day you get those keys, you take those pictures, you do that boomerang, and you're super excited. Closing disclosures, your details of your closing costs. Your lender will go over that. Doug is great for it. He attends most of all of his closings, and he always has something special. I'm not going to tell what it is. And that's when you're going to sign. You're going to sign your mortgage, your trust, closing disclosures affidavit. When you walk out that door, you will be a homeowner.
And then I just wanted to throw in, guys, the last piece here, and I think your president said it at the outset, home ownership builds wealth and builds generational wealth. And that's one of the biggest options for here in the United States and other countries, but home ownership is what drives our economy. If you follow the market, you look at the rates, home building is up, home building is down, mortgage rates are up, mortgage rates are down. So home ownership is the engine that drives everything. But there's benefits for you as a homeowner, tax deductions when it comes to filing your taxes, where you can deduct your mortgage interest, your property taxes, even points that you pay on the loan. So it helps you get money back when you file that income tax at the end of the year. If you've been paying the income tax at the end of the year every year, well, owning a home will help you not pay that, and in some cases, get a much larger refund. But obviously, you'll be able to fill out your W-4 form and help you reduce that on your pay stubs. Those are some things you can look at also. So home ownership will build wealth, and it's one of the greatest ways to grow generational wealth.
So I
So
know
with that being said, I think we're at the end. I believe we're right on schedule. As you can see, my lovely mug, I want to say thank you for attending. And also, Miss Tina, we wanted to thank you both for allowing us this opportunity to present to you. Hopefully you got some great information. With that being said, I'll turn it back over to Miss Kennedy, and you can take it from there, Deborah.
Okay, yes, that was some excellent information, and we've got some good questions in the Q&A box. I just want to remind everybody, if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A box, because if you put it in the chat, it kind of scrolls up and may miss it. Want to make sure we get all your questions. And also, just a reminder, we will put a link in the chat box at the end of the Q&A session so that you can give us your feedback. But we're going to go ahead and start with the questions, and we're going to start with our Facebook family. We've got people on Facebook listening. So our first question comes from Facebook. What advice would you give to someone who is trying to keep the overall mortgage payment within their budget as the property tax fluctuates? What advice would you give them?
That's a great question. And as I stated earlier, what is your budget? The property taxes are one of those things that's hard to really gauge. So what I counsel someone is tell me what your monthly budget is, expected, and then obviously I will back into that based on what area of town you want to live in. Every county is going to be different when it comes to property taxes. Every home is going to be different because of the price point. If you're paying school tax, which school tax is about 60% of your property taxes. So depending on your age, that's going to have an impact. If you're 65 or older, you can kind of forget about the school tax, right? If you're not, that school tax is going to be there. So it really just comes down to what area, what location, county, school areas, those things are going to be important. That's going to drive the property tax. But what I always like to do, if you're trying to figure a budget, I'll find that area, run an analysis of the taxes, insurance, and then I can tell you based on that, if you want to stay within this budget, this is the price point that you need to be in to keep you within that price point. I hope that answered the question. I'll be glad to add more if it did not. If you want to put another question in the Q&A, I'll be glad to expound on that. Or you can contact me directly, and I'll be glad to get that. My information is on the slide there, so you should be able to grab me.
Okay,
I hope that helped
great.
them out, Deborah.
I'm just glad that people recognize that their mortgage can change. Some people think, okay, I've got my mortgage, this is what I'm gonna pay for the rest of the 30 years. No, those
Yeah.
taxes, okay, insurance, those things fluctuate. So great, thank you. So our
Yes.
next question is there a program to assist educators with buying a home?
There are some programs out there that help educators and civil servants. You can look around. Not every lender participates, but there are some programs there, just like the first-time home buyer. There's down payment assistance programs. I know here at Renaissance, we offer a down payment assistance program. It's not Georgia Dream or some of your state or federal funded. It's actually a program that we fund, less paperwork. So there are some options out there, but not everyone offers it. So I would talk to your lender. Now, we currently don't have anything for teachers, but if you needed help with your down payment, we can utilize one of our down payment assistance programs, or you may qualify for our community home buyer 100% program if you needed something like that. Federal Home Loan Bank here in Atlanta. We do participate with them. They can help with down payment. So there's a lot of different options out there to help you if the down payment is one of the main reasons of hindering you from proceeding to buy a home. And Tina, you might have some more that you can expound on in your experience for teachers.
No, you actually touched on everything.
Okay.
It's the Georgia dream, but I like to encourage, professionals that are looking for any type of down payment assistance or anyone to use those 100% products that you have. The interest rates are better. You don't have to come out of pocket. Essentially the same thing, but your interest rates are better.
Yeah. And one thing to add on that for whomever is listening and ask that question, with those 100%, there's no mortgage insurance, which is a big piece of your payment. If you use an FHA loan and you're putting 3.5% down, or a conventional loan putting 3% down, your mortgage insurance is going to be pretty expensive. So we trade that off with no mortgage insurance, which allows you to get into it with just your principal and interest, your taxes, and your homeowner's insurance.
Okay, great. Ms. Borders had asked a question about expounding on the court ruling regarding realtor commissions. I think you did a great job with that, Sora Jones. So, Ms. Borders, if you have additional questions, please put another one in the Q&A box. So, Ms. Jackson wants to know, how do I position myself for another home when I still have a mortgage on my existing home? I don't want to sell it. I just want to purchase a second, smaller retirement home.
So good question. Great. That's a great question, actually. So I have a client that's actually going through this now. So if you're not planning to sell your current home, then you're going to be qualified with both mortgages. So the new mortgage on the secondary home you're looking, smaller home, and you're keeping this one. In order to try to offset that mortgage payment on the existing house, you can do one or two things. Under the conventional umbrella, FHA will not allow this, but conventional will allow you to lease the property if you have a 12-month lease agreement in place. First month's rent and deposit up front, you can take that to offset the mortgage payment, and then obviously you can purchase your other home that you're looking to do. Maybe you're downsizing. I don't need the 4,000 square foot home. I want a 2,000 square foot home, or it could be vice versa. But that's one way to look at it from that. And just so you know, too, the true definition of a secondary residence or vacation home is it has to be with a certain distance from your existing house. So when we say secondary home, there's typically going to be, is it on the beach, lake, mountains, or, obviously waterfront in some sense. If it's not, then it has to be, the rule is at least 50 miles from your existing house.
Okay, great. All
I
right.
hope I answered that
So,
question.
okay.
Yes.
But just making sure, because I'm curious about something. With that though, someone could purchase a second home as an investment property with 20% down, right?
Yeah, they could do it as an investment property. I wouldn't call it a second home, but yes, if they want to buy an investment property, as we said on the slide, and rent it out, yes, that is an option. You can put as little as 15% down on an investment property, but most people put the 20% to avoid the mortgage insurance premium. Yes, Tina.
And that mortgage insurance can add quite a bit to your mortgage. So you do want to avoid that if possible. So
If
great.
possible.
All right. Another Facebook question. Do nurses fall under the down payment assistance program? Nurses, do they fall under the down
Yes,
payment
anyone.
assistance program?
Yes, anyone can qualify for the down payment assistance program. It is going to be based on income. There are some markets or assessment areas that your income can exceed a certain amount. And there are some areas where there's no income limitation. So it will all come down to your realtor, like Tina, finding that property where you are, but you could take advantage of down payment assistance. And I'm just talking about the 100% program. But if you wanted to utilize, say, one of our other programs, you could use that and say, I need this money for the down payment. Yes, you could qualify even if you're a nurse.
Okay, great. So Sabrina wants to know, she has a property in Florida and would like to build a duplex. Will she need to get a realtor or just focus on seeking out a builder?
Tina, you want to take that one?
Sure. Well, in my opinion, if you already own your land, then you can start communicating with a builder. But if you do not own land and you need to purchase land, then I would definitely highly encourage you to utilize a realtor, because you want to make sure that the land can accommodate the home that you're trying to build. And if you're trying to build a duplex, you want to make sure that you have enough square footage in that lot to accommodate a duplex. You want to make sure that you have sewage opportunities for your duplex. If you need septic, if you have public sewer, there's a lot of things that go into the purchase of land. But if you already own land, then I don't see a reason to bring a realtor in the fold if you already have a builder that that you want to communicate with. But if you just have some questions, and you don't need a realtor, you can always call me. I'll answer your questions for you. That's not an issue. So if you have your land, then no, I don't necessarily see the need. But if you don't have the land and you need to purchase some, so yes.
Right, great, great. Is it a seller's market still, or is it changing?
It's a market. I don't think it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Because right now our sellers are still walking away with a sizable amount of equity, because the appraisals on the properties are just in line with allowing them to have those capital gains. And my buyers, they are able to walk away with a generous amount of concessions from some of the sellers that are eager to sell. So I would say for my buyers, if you're interested in purchasing, try to purchase something before the height of the peak season in the summer. And that would make it a buyer's market. And for sellers, it is a seller's market because, again, the values have caught up, and the sellers are all smiling at the table because the house value has just increased. So I feel like it's a 50-50.
So I'm hearing more and more new build communities that are rental only. Do you foresee that trend continuing in the future? And is there any litigation pending to combat that?
Uh,
Um, um,
okay, I'll let you have that one, Tina. I can add on to
Yeah,
that.
we can piggyback. Well, currently, I do not have any knowledge of legislation against builders purchasing land and building lease-only properties. And yes, I do see it continuing because buyers or homeowners are just not educating themselves on being able to purchase a property. Is very doable, despite what most people put in your minds or what the media wants you to believe. The rent that you're paying in some of those communities, you can own a home for less.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I do see it, continuing and no legislation at this time, to my knowledge.
Yeah, and if I can add on to that, and because we see it a lot on this, the reason the build to rent has become so popular, and there are a lot of builders, some of your big production builders are doing it, is a lot of people now have come to the realization they want to own a home, but they can't qualify for a mortgage because either A, they don't have the down payment, or maybe there's some credit challenges. And so the build to rent has become a hot item simply because people say, well, now I can go have a yard, I can have a fence, I can have a garage, I can kind of live in a neighborhood and have the sense of home ownership, but renting. So I do see that to continue. That is a huge trend across the US right now. As Tina pointed out, you can buy a home a lot cheaper, but what we're seeing is a lot of people are using it simply because they don't want to live in the apartment any longer because obviously, the walls are very close and they want some space for the kids, but they're not in a position where they can buy today.
Okay. Another Facebook question. Thank you, Facebook. What are the interest rates currently? We know that the Fed keeps talking about they may drop them, they may not. What currently is the situation on interest rates?
So your current interest rates, and to answer your question, the Feds are probably not going to drop. If you've watched the market today, the consumer price index came out, which usually kind of lets us know where the inflation is, which that increased a little more than anyone expected. So rates obviously went up today, the largest increase we've seen since 2022. So you're looking
Wow.
at a 30-year, which is your more traditional rate that you look at. On an average rate, they're running around 7% today. You can
Oh,
probably get a
wow.
little under that in some cases, but that's on an average what you're looking at. The Feds had proposed, if you looked at the first of the year, we thought the Feds were going to cut about 150 basis points off of the Fed rates, which right now currently is about 5.5. They didn't do that. Then they were going to cut about 3. Now it's coming down that they may only cut 1 by the end of the year, which would be 25 basis points. And part of that is last year was unprecedented where they raised the rate 11 times, and we had never seen that before. And each time it was a quarter hit, and that's why rates are now. Obviously, inflation is driving this. If you listen to some of the pundits, they want to get inflation down to 2%, which right now we're running about 2.5%. I just don't think we'll get to 2%. But 2025 is setting up to be when we think they'll really start to cut those rates, which we then expect about 150 basis points sometime. So you'll see those rates come back, but I think it'll be 2025 before we see that happen.
And I want to chime in just one little thought on the interest rates. And I always say, date the rate, marry the house, because you can refinance when that rate drops. But what you want to make sure of is that you don't put yourself in a hole, because when the rates go down, the sellers are still going to be able to make those returns. And the seller's going to say, you know what? Yeah, I may have wanted 350,000 for my house when the interest rates were higher, but now I want 450 because I know the rates are lower and they can afford more. So, the sellers are watching the interest rates the same as the buyers. The only difference is the buyers can refinance. So, interest rate is something that I like to consider as temporary. You can always refinance your home and get a lower rate and even drop your PMI or your MI, your mortgage insurance, off of your loan. So the rates, they're higher than normal, but you can always refinance if you desire.
Well,
You're
and I
going
can
to
add
date
on.
the rate and marry the house. Okay, got it.
That's a good one. So, but I'll add on to that, as Tina pointed out. Look, we got spoiled during the pandemic when the Feds cut the rates to 0, if you guys remember that. And when that happened, that's when you saw rates in the 2 and 3% range. As you know, lenders have a margin that they work with. Well, if the borrowing rates from the Feds is 0, well, lenders had a lot more room, and that's why rates were what they were. Now, obviously, it costs me 5.5 to go borrow that money from the Feds. Well, if I'm going to make my margin profit, that's why you see
I think he
rates up.
froze. But he was
So
just saying that looks like everybody froze.
what's that? I'm sorry, did I freeze?
No, I was hearing you just fine. I don't know who that was that
Yeah.
broke in.
Okay, no problem.
Go ahead,
So with
Doug.
that being said, I think rates where they are right now, a lot of people are coming to the realization, okay, they are what they are. These are not the highest rates have ever been. If you go
That's
back
right.
10, 20 years ago, rates were 9, 10%, 8%. Just as early as the 2000s, they were in the 8% range. So we got a little spoiled, and now I think, and because of the way the Feds raised the rates, it was more like sticker shock because it happened so quickly. But as Tina said, date the rate, marry the house, or you can flip that around, marry the house, date the rate, because there will be an opportunity to refinance. And to share some information with you, when the pandemic happened and the rates went down, everybody refinanced from those 7 and 8% interest rates they had and got to 2 and 3%. Now, will we get back to 2 and 3% in the future? Probably not, but forecasters think we'll be somewhere in the low 5s by 2025.
Okay, great. All right, let's get through these questions. We got
Okay.
several more here.
All
What
right.
about companies that act as the buyer and seller, meaning they will buy my home, but also help me to find a new home? Should I be concerned? They say I can stay in my home until they help me find another home. What are your
Tina,
thoughts
that's
on
on
that?
you.
Yes, I would love to answer that question. And the answer to that is yes, be very concerned because, again, you want your own representation. And as a seller, you owe it to yourself to make sure you are listing your property at the proper price. Most of those third parties that work as a buyer and a seller, they are purchasing your property as an investor. They're hedge funds. So their business is to make money. They may offer you a price that sounds like, oh, this is great. I can stay in my house for another 30 days. I don't have to pay a mortgage, but they may offer you $60,000 less than what you can make from selling it, with a standard sale. So you want to make sure that even if you're entertaining those third parties, that you get their information because they will send it to you. Look at all the fees, look at the bottom line, and then consult with the realtor and say, hey, I'm contemplating selling my home. Can you please give me a CMA? Can you let me know what my house would sell for? And then at that point in time, take in consideration the realtor's commissions and fees, compare apples to apples. And then I think at that point, you would be prone to go with the standard traditional selling option versus the third party option. So again, make sure that, just educate yourself on all the scenarios and make sure it's the best possible outcome for you.
Okay. You mentioned CMA. What did that stand for?
That's your cost market analysis. That's going to give you the value of your property based on comps within, I normally go a 2-mile radius, which is what the appraisers use. But it's going to give you the value of your home, based on what I say, hey, this is a high number that we may be able to sell it for, this middle, average number. And in this market, because again, it's a 50-50 market, you may have a property that 6 other buyers want. And get into a multiple offer situation and actually gross 20, 30,000 more than what you were expecting. So you want to give yourself the opportunity to collect as many of those coins as possible.
Right, absolutely. Can you explain what it means to buy down your interest rate?
Yeah, sure. So you have a couple of different options. You can do a permanent buy down, which means a discount point buys your rate down. You see a lot of your new construction builders that offering what they call a 3-2-1 buy down or a 2-1 buy down. Basically, that's a temporary buy down. And what the 3-2 means is you buy your rate down for, basically 3 points for that first year, then it's 2 points for the second year and 1 point for the third. So by the third year, your rate is now back to wherever you started. So example, let's say you got a 7% rate, the 3-2-1, you could buy it down to 4%. So for year one, you got an interest rate of 4%. Year two, it's now going to go up obviously to 5%. And then of course, as it moves up by year 3, 4, you're back to where you started. So it's temporary, but it's a cost to that, and that cost can be pretty expensive. What a lot of builders are doing now is saying, we'll give you this closing cost incentive, and they'll use that towards your buy down. Now, some sellers might do that if you're doing in a regular resale market. Very rare that you see it there. Typically, it's more in your new construction. But a permanent buy down is what most people you want to look at, because now you're buying the rate down for the entire term of your loan. So if you were looking at a 30-year fix, as I mentioned earlier, your 30-year fixed rate's around 7%. And you said, well, what if I paid a point? Well, if you pay a point, you could buy your rate down to say 6.75. So that point, 1% of whatever your loan amount is what that discount is. That buys your rate down about a quarter. So, but you have it fixed for the remainder of the term of the loan. So the question becomes, hey, do I want to pay that discount to do that? Remember in the slide presentation earlier, when you write your taxes off, you can write off any points you use to buy your rate down. And that's what I suggest, is that you use a permanent buy down. Now, obviously you can use one of those temporary buy downs, but like I said, it will get expensive and you're going to have to rely on the seller, the builder, or if you want to pay it yourself, you can do that, but it's not, in my opinion, worth it. Going back to Tina's comment, date the rate, because when the rates do come back, it'd be a lot cheaper to refinance then than to spend, a large sum of money up front for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years.
Okay,
I hope
great.
that answers the question.
Yeah, we've got a few more minutes, so we'll try to get through
Okay.
as many of these questions as we can. If we don't get to your question, please know we will give you the contact information for Ms. Jones and Mr. Hudnell so you can follow up with them. But let's see, can we get a couple more in? When selling a property as is, should an agent be used?
Absolutely. You
Okay,
want to use an agent because you want to make sure that you're securing yourself legally. Certain latent defects, even if it is sold as is, must be presented. So you want to make sure that you have somebody that's advising you accordingly. Even if you're selling your property as is, unless you were going through one of those third parties where, they're purchasing cash, sight unseen, sold as is type of situation. But be sure to read the small print. So in my opinion, I would absolutely do this because I want to make sure that I am securing my best interest as a seller.
all right. Is it wise to tap into your home equity line of credit to pay off debt?
Yes, if it's, I have a lot of people doing that right now. The biggest thing about that is you're utilizing the equity to consolidate debt, is what they're typically doing, which improves your cash flow, which is the main objective. So if you're paying off high interest credit cards, things of that nature, yes, it is an opportunity to take advantage. And one advantage that a home equity line will give you is, depending on what type of equity you have built, you can have this equity line. So I'm going to give you a great comparison. It's like having a credit card. So let's say you have a $50,000 of equity in your home, but you really only need 20,000 to do what you want. Well, you have the $50,000 line, you use your 20, you still have 30 available. If you ever need to go back to it, you don't have to go back through the lending process or call anyone. You can just go tap into it. So it gives you the ability to use that. And as you pay it down, you pay the balance down just like you would with a credit card. So yes, it is something that I would suggest and recommend if that's the way you want to go. If you don't want to have two mortgages, and most people that do HELOCs, they go, well, you know what? I don't want to touch my first mortgage because I have such a great rate. I got that 3% rate back during the pandemic, but I do want to pay off some debt because I got this 25% credit card over at Home Depot and Visa, and I want to do some home improvements. Well, then the equity line makes sense. In some cases, I've had people, well, I don't want two mortgages. I would just like to have one. What about just refinancing everything into one? That's an option also, because at the end of the day, if you look at the interest rate on the debt you're paying off, it may all add up more than what that rate may be today, even if it's a higher rate today.
Okay. And do you think it's beneficial to buy property rent to rent?
Buy property, in meaning buy investment properties to rent?
Yes.
So,
Do you think it's
yeah,
beneficial to buy property and then
yeah.
rent it out?
There's a lot of people. Here's what I would tell everyone on that. If you're a seasoned person, it's going to be great. But if you're kind of getting into it, start with twosies. As Tina mentioned earlier, I think she had an investor that bought 10. There's a lot of seasoned veterans that do that. But yes, if you want to buy investment properties and you have the ability, just remember that when you're applying and you're buying investment property, there is a limit with traditional lending that you can't own more than 10 investment properties, including your current mortgage. So you want to keep that number at 10 or less.
But also in the same breath, make sure you can afford it. Because
Yes.
I know rental home sounds fun and happy, yay, yay, yay. But if you have a mortgage on that rental property and you do not have a tenant, or you have a tenant that stops paying you more rent, you have to pay that mortgage. So make sure to understand your budget and your financial strength before getting out there and investing in rental properties, because you want to make sure that if that air conditioner goes out and you have to put $7,000 into a unit, you're able to do that. Because if you can't, that tenant's going to stop paying you and they're going to fix the air conditioning unit and take it out of your rent. And you
And
still
that's
Absolutely.
a good point, Tina. And just so everybody knows too, you take on the responsibility. If something goes wrong, they call you at midnight. Unless you got a handyman on service, you got to go take care of that. So that's why I say, just make sure it's something you're willing to take on.
Right, and let's close out with this question. I'm sorry we didn't get to them all, but once again, Sarah Jones and Mr. Hudnall, if you would put your contact information in the chat so everybody can follow up with you. We're going to do this last question. What is the best advice you would give to someone looking to buy within the next year or two? What's the best advice somebody looking to buy within the next year or two?
Save credit. Save as much as you can. Make sure your credit is where it is. And to Tina's point, affordability. Make sure you have a budget. I would start planning that right now, meaning have a budget. I want my payments to be X. Save as much as you can. If you want to create a separate account so you don't intermingle it with your other account, I recommend you doing that. And then if you have credit challenges or issues, credit can be fixed, guys. I don't recommend going out to a credit repair agencies. I know a lot of people do that. You can do it yourself. You got to be willing to do the work, but there's a lot of different programs. You can call the credit bureaus, you can talk to them directly, but start working on that credit. Or you can call me and say, "Hey, Doug, what can I do?" And I can give you different advice. I'm not a credit counselor, but I can give you advice. This is what you need to do. And once you get that credit to her, because your credit is going to increase your buying power, it's going to help you qualify for a mortgage. So those are the three things I would tell you: save, credit, and budget.
And do without. Don't go and spend. I'm very frugal, y'all. Do without. Only, get yourself in the habit of only spending on needs. And every blue moon a one. But if you really want to get yourself into that home in 1 to 2 years, do without. And put aside those extra funds for your home.
Okay, great. So, Tina, you did put your contact information, but it says to host and panelists. So if you just change that to everyone so everyone can see it. Okay. So we want to thank everyone for coming out. This was some very, very valuable information. And if you felt that it was valuable information, use your reactions and let's give them hand claps, some love. Let them know that you appreciated them coming out and taking the time to share this valuable information with us. As I mentioned at the beginning, the survey is going to pop up. It'll be in the chat and it will be in the pop up on your screen as we close out. Thank you so much, Sarah Jones and Mr. Hudnall, for all of that excellent information you provided us with today. And to close out, I just want to remind everyone it is Financial Literacy Month. So continue to increase your financial knowledge throughout the month. And we hope that this was a big part of you gaining additional information on how to better manage your finances and how to create wealth through real estate. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you so much. Good night and have a great rest of the week.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you.